And continuing onward, between the last video and this one, I took a quick look at a guide in order to figure out where I'm supposed to be going and which way is the proper way forward. Normally I don't like looking at guides when I play, so it's probably going to take me quite a while to figure out some things, and I may get lost a time or two, and I may have to make a temp save, go check something, and whatever, because I don't have all this stuff called up next to me. That's just not how I do things, and while I have played this game before, it was fucking ages ago. A bunch of games came and went between that time and now, so my memory's vague as hell. I remember the basic setup, the premise, where the storyline goes. Some of the major key points, like the Bosch battle, is something that really came through with my mind. I really knew when that was going to happen. And there's another battle coming up. Like, I know what's going to happen at the end of this video before I even got there. I remember that area, but you know, the specific layout of certain dungeons and where certain items are, that stuff quickly goes out of memory when you stop playing a game. And with a couple of years and a couple of games between that, well, it's easy to get that stuff out of your mind. So this is actually the way forward. You could have just went this way at first, but I like to find the items, and I may end up using them. They could be pretty useful. I know at the very least Jolt Ball is probably going to see some use at some point. There are a couple electricity weak enemies that I could end up using that on. But as far as guides go, I can never play a game and sort of look at the guide when I'm playing it. I know there's quite a few people that do that, but it annoys the fucking hell out of me. I guess some of you may know people like that. I certainly do. But I don't know, it just kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it for me, you know? I don't like playing a game if I'm constantly looking at something. At that point, I might as well just watch somebody else play the game, which, okay, that probably sounded a little bit condescending, and I shouldn't say that because, well, that sort of person is probably going to be my audience here. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I watch LPs all the time, and there's quite a few games that I watch being LP that, you know, I wouldn't play myself, and there's also, like, playthroughs and stuff like that. So that's very nice. It's good for, like, gauging whether or not you might enjoy the game, all that other wonderful stuff. And, well, I'm sure there's some games that are a little bit hard or a little bit annoying to play. God knows I've had more fun watching super hard games like, say, I Want to Be the Guy being played than I actually had playing the games myself, for that matter. And, you know, there's plenty of excuses there, but, anyway, back to the original topic before I got fucking sidetracked as all hell. Yeah, my brain is fucking fried and it's like 5 fucking AM, so I don't know what the shit I'm talking about. So just bear with my endless rambling. I feel like rambling. That's what I'm going to do, so if it's a problem, deal with it, whatever. Mute me, play some music, you could do that, I'm sure. Or, you know, fast forward ahead, the next storyline part's not going to be until after I get out of this dungeon. At least I don't think so. So there's that. And here's a good example of using the layout of the dungeon sort of to my advantage. They can't attack me unless they're using a ranged attack from outside that area. So let's just put some fire circles down, use Lin to snipe them, and all that stuff. So back to my topic. I was talking about how some people look at guides while they're playing games, and how I kind of find that, you know, annoying. Sure, it might give you a bit more of a complete experience. You might find everything. You don't have to wander around looking for items, and you probably don't have to die on bosses because you have the way to defeat it written right there, and it's very detailed, and all the cheap little tricks of the game engine are explained in full detail, and it tells you how to do all this fancy crap that just makes the game a complete cakewalk, and which party members to bring, and all this shit. But I consider the experimentation and sort of looking around in a game to be a very integral part of the entire experience. I enjoy when I'm fucking lost in the game. I like being stumped by a puzzle and then all of a sudden figuring out the solution and being like, oh fuck, why didn't I think of that sooner? Instead, when you're looking at guides, it's like, oh okay, so now I just have to do this, and then I could do this, and then I could do this, and then I'm going to do that. It just, I don't know, there's no surprise, there's no shock value. It's all very, like, formulaic. It's, I don't know, it just kind of takes the fun out of the whole thing. It's kind of like when you play RPGs and you're like, staring at stats the entire time, trying to figure out, you know, the perfect way to do this or the perfect way to do that, instead of just playing the fucking game and having some fucking fun with it. Instead, you're just, you know, I don't know, I don't like it when video games become work. But that's quite another rant, I guess. But, yeah, if you're just playing a game for the sake of completing the game and you're staring at a guide the entire time, it's just very opposite to the way I prefer to play games. I'm sure some of you may, you know, there's probably a good reason for that. And I could certainly say that there's plenty of games where I felt more than a little bit confused and I got lost plenty of times. But that's just not the way I do things. So, yeah, it's going to take a while. I could get lost a couple times. I could get confused. But sooner or later, I'm going to look at the whole thing. Normally, I don't look at guides at all, but I'm doing an LP, so I kind of have to go with that. And I'm not saying that I never look at guides. Of course I fucking look at guides. Who doesn't? If I get, like, completely and thoroughly stumped and there's no way forward, or, you know, I've already completed the game and I'm going through the second time around, or all that other stuff, then sure, why the hell not? You know, there's plenty of little hidden details on games, or various hidden objects. I probably never would have found Kokon, for that matter, if I didn't actually look at a guide that explained how to get there and how that stuff works. And the D ratio system in this game, and how that works, and all the complications there, that's very fucking screwy. But with a guide, it's pretty easy to figure out. Here I just picked up Flare. Flare is essentially the fire equivalent of Jolt. But since I already have G-Flare and I only have one slot available on this rod, I will be getting a better one soon. I'm going to sort of leave Jolt where it is and keep that. It's nice to have multiple options available. If I were to, say, run into an enemy that was completely immune to fire, and I just had Flare and G-Flare, Nina would suddenly become incredibly useless, and then I would just be wasting 1 out of every 3 turns. That's not a good way to do things. So, be very open to the idea of generalizing. You know, don't specialize. Keep things nice and all over the place. Of course, I'm really fucking terrible at positioning Nina. I had gotten, like, very rusty at this game. Even rustier than before. I did actually practice this game before I started my LP, but all that practice went out the window when I take an entire fucking month off. But I'd rather not think about that shit right now. So, I'm very poor at positioning Nina, so she's going to take a lot more damage than she should. So I just can't seem to get the right positioning for her. Right setup. Fortunately, Jolt is ridiculously powerful. Magic is very, very useful in this game. Don't be afraid to use a mage, because you're going to be stuck with the mage either way. There's only 3 party members, we have 3 of them. They're going to be there, with some minor exceptions, for the remainder of the game. And I'm more or less wasting heal kits. It's not too far to the next town. It's actually a lot smaller of a dungeon than it looks. It's just that I did a bunch of optional areas, so it kind of pads the length of the whole thing. And I am looking for all the keys and stuff. Some of the enemies can be really sneaky. This little bastard right here almost snuck up on me. I almost walked right into him. Fortunately, I noticed his nice little glowing eyes. It's kind of nice how all the various characters in this setting have those little neon things on them. Oh, with some minor exceptions. It's kind of a weird little touch. I'm guessing it's the only major light source, since they're all underground and stuff. You can't use the sun, etc., etc. And, by the way, you do actually pick up additional AP as you level up and all that stuff. So, you will get additional turns, and you're not quite so limited. But you're not going to get a hell of a lot of extra AP. So while leveling does make you a bit better and give you additional attacks, more time to move around, and more powerful stuff, it's a lot more about strategy rather than stuff. The effects of leveling are largely negligible. There we go. So don't be afraid to avoid leveling if you have to, and running from enemies. I'm also not using any party experience points. If I were to use that, each one of my characters would be maybe 1 or 2 extra levels higher. But I'm going to need as much party experience points as possible for a certain reason. And here we have, I forget this guy's name, it's probably going to pop up in a little while. This guy is one of these really strong brute enemies, warthog things, and his whole gimmick is that he's wearing armor, which it might sound like something ridiculous, but the way it works is every time you attack him, it gradually decreases the amount of armor he has, and eventually his armor will crack or break, and then you can inflict huge amounts of damage. Right now, all the attacks are just chipping his armor, which is why it's not doing much of anything. But here in a minute, I'm going to break through his armor, and then the damage counters are just going to go through the fucking roof. It's going to get much, much better. And unfortunately, the stay here ability, Duke Battler. And yes, he does have a very large range. So be very careful where you're having Nina. As you saw there, Ryu was now doing like 2 times the damage he was doing initially. So yeah, very, very nice ability to use, or rather strategy to use. Just chip his armor, then attack him. Okay, this should lead to the key, if I'm not mistaken, and that would take us to the treasure chest. If at all possible, bring the question mark items with you. They are going to be armor and weapons anyway, and that sells for a lot of Zenny, so keep that around. Don't be afraid to use your stat boosting items, especially the HP up stuff, because HP up stuff, it's 1 hit point. That's nothing. Don't bother wasting inventory space on that stuff. Just use it where it comes. That is Blow Up. It's Lynn's first level 3 skill. It's an extremely powerful attack that uses up 30 AP, and if you combo into it, it can be very useful. However, I like to just use her basic attack over and over. It's probably not the best way, especially with the way comboing works, but yeah, if stuff misses, and on certain enemies it's bound to miss because some of these enemies have really weird dodging, and Lynn is using her default weapons, which is really not the optimal setup for anything really. Okay, this is going to illustrate one of the things I really fucking hate about this game. It's just really, really dark in this room, and the enemies really blend in with everything, so you don't see anything until it's right on top of you. Stuff comes into your blind spot and you just walk right into enemies. You can't see where the fuck they are. Stuff just sneaks right up on you, and while it's, you know, it's good, it kind of keeps you on your toes and all that stuff, it also feels just a little bit cheap. That enemies can kind of sneak up on you and you just don't know where the fuck they are. These Black Widows and spiders in general are a really, really bad enemy for that. Like earlier on in the waste shaft levels, you noticed that there were a bunch stuck to the ceiling, and they didn't even look really like spiders. But then I walked under them and all of a sudden I have like 20 spiders on my ass. Yes, that's what spiders do. They sneak the fuck up on you and they're just annoying fucking enemies. And I think I already explained the counter in the top left corner. The magic counter, you can have 3 magic circles down at a time, or you could have 3 traps down at a time. So you can have a total of about 6 traps really. And as for the counter, I know I bring it up a lot, but it's always nice to take a quick look at it every once in a while to just get a general idea of how it's working or how it's counting up. At the end of the boss fight, it was at about 6.25, if I'm not mistaken, or it was at least 6, I think. And currently it's up to about 7 point something. So, yeah, that's roughly how fast it counts up. So, about 45 minutes of gameplay gets you about 1% more. Of course, if I were D-dashing through this entire place, that would probably be about 27% right about now. It'd be a lot higher. And since I'm maybe less than a quarter of the way through the game, I think, I don't know, I'm just vaguely recalling how long this game is. Very, very vaguely. I do know that there's a fight coming up that I'm really going to loathe, and I don't know why the hell I'm exposing myself to that, but yeah, it's coming. Yeah, see, prime example of spiders being dicks. That little guy was stuck to the ceiling. Fortunately, he wasn't quite as camouflaged as the Black Widow, but he was still really well hidden. Fortunately, I saw him before he saw me, so I got like the little sneak attack in. Of course, there are downsides to getting that sneak attack in. What exactly do you mean by that? Well, easy. Doesn't it seem like this fight shouldn't be going on, even though, since I just killed that enemy? Well, the thing is, this is another instance where the whole pet system fucks you up with the range. That enemy, I don't know how the fuck I'm supposed to get to it. I don't know how the fuck I'm supposed to attack it. So I just gotta stand around and try to figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Lynn's movement range is complete shit, so she's really not good for that sort of thing. And I'm just like trying to figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do here. Fortunately, the spider already knows what it's supposed to do. So it's one of the few instances where the enemy AI actually made the game a little bit easier. The way that you're supposed to do this is that there's a doorway, but I obviously didn't think to go through that doorway because I didn't really see it. This room is a little bit dark, and I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention. I'm pretty sure I was heavily distracted at the time. Not sure with what though. Maybe it'll occur to me later. Seriously, how fucking camouflaged are those spiders? They're just really hidden in there. I just never really seem to catch them. It's really, really well hidden. Fortunately, Jolt sees all. Fuck yes, Thor. The mighty, mighty Thor. With his lightning bolts. Fuck yes, lightning bolts. I also find it kind of funny that Nina has the largest movement range, when she's the character that pretty much least needs it. She's useless up close, with some minor exceptions. And yet she can move pretty much the entire fucking screen. I kinda like that. This game doesn't try to make sense all the time. It's probably better that way. Anyway, that incredibly long drawn out fight over with. Yeah, I probably should edit these things out or something. But I'm in a bit of a lazy mood, and, well, this is my first update in a long time, so I don't really know what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. I'm hopefully going to get back to the groove at some point. And hopefully it won't be a month before my next update. I'm really hoping not. I really want to finish this game and get back onto the whole LP thing. Speaking of which, the other LPs I'm involved in, the Zero series, I do have a couple videos that I haven't posted on EP yet, and I'm probably going to record some more for the YouTube channel at some point. So, you know, it's coming at some point whenever I get around to it, whenever I combat my laziness and find the time to do that. Today's project was Dragon Quarter though, so there's that. And Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Tan and I are currently working out some kinks in that. There should hopefully be an update soonish. Maybe he'll even beat me to this update, actually. Stan's pretty crazy like that. And as for other projects, I think that's about it. There was some talk of some other stuff, but I think that's largely remaining off the grid for now. I think. Well, there was the Essence Star, but I don't know. Hypnos kind of went missing in action. And I think Cola was supposed to help with that, and I think he also largely went missing in action. Seriously, fuck these fucking spiders. It just bears repeating. I fucking hate these spiders. Why the fuck do they have to be fucking invisible? That's just so fucking cruel. Seriously, can you even see those spiders? I know I fucking didn't. That's why I walked right into one. There's just... I don't know. I should have known better, considering that this is pretty much a spider area. But I didn't. Instead, I walked right into the fucking spider. Like an idiot. And sadly, these spider bites do not give us radioactive powers. Which makes me wonder, if Spider-Man can do everything that a spider can, why can he not normally shoot webs? Also, why is he not afraid of newspapers? Well, I guess it's kind of true that a newspaper is his weakness, but it's in a much more technical way. How very nice of the spider. It drops the antidote to the poison it gives you. If only real spiders were like this, there'd be a lot fewer poisonings. Anti-venom. Just kill a spider with a newspaper. It'll provide its own anti-venom. Come on. Zap that fucking spider. Nina is a walking bug zapper. That's very useful. Come on. Come on. Fucking kill the spider. Yeah, I really should have edited these things out. These battles are monotonous as fuck. Oh well. Scanned it. That's a nice close-up shot of it. Can you see it? No. That's because everything's fucking black. These fuckers are camouflaged. Everything's fucking black. Shit's hard to see. It's like putting a brown enemy in like something that's like modern. I don't know. Like putting mud crabs in Fallout 3. Yeah. Let's go with that.